So we'll do our visualization, and with the holy beings in front, the sentient beings around us, and then lead everybody in taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. That's one of the best things you can do for sentient beings, is lead them in taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. That doesn't mean we go out and try and convert people, standing on street corners and giving them brochures. But it means that, we share what little we know when the opportunity is conducive and beneficial for others. So that, can take many different forms. One of my friends, her sister was a Jehovah's Witness. So, you need to be careful then. But what she did is she left just some small Buddhist books on the coffee table, and her sister picked one up and read some, and then came back and said, wow, you believe a lot of the same stuff we do. And that started a really nice conversation. So, there's many ways to benefit sentient beings. It doesn't have to be some big production. Sometimes your friends come to you and they have relationship problems, and and you can show them, explain to them a little bit about how to work with anger, or the disadvantages of holding grudges. And this is a way to really benefit people, more than saying, oh yeah, you're right, that person's really terrible. Sometimes what people want is sympathy, agreeing with their wrong views and their anger. You have every right to be angry. Look how they treated you. And, but that just makes the person more upset. Help them let go of expectations and, calm their mind and not hold things against other people. And that can really benefit them. Yeah. I wouldn't try and become somebody's marriage counselor, though. Let's leave that for the people who have the ability to do that. Okay. So let's do the visualization. And also, when we take refuge, really having a clarity in our mind that this is the path that we want to follow. If you don't have that clarity, that's okay. We can't force it. We can't make ourselves believe anything. It all depends on really learning and then contemplating over time, and then gradually our conviction arises and increases and becomes stable. Let's cultivate our motivation. So there's a wide variety of sentient beings, not just in terms of our physical shapes and forms, but in terms of our minds and how we think, what we're interested in, what inspires us, what our dispositions, where our tendencies are, what makes some things easy and other things more difficult. So we're all quite different in these regards. And when we feel insecure, we want everybody to think alike, because that somehow makes us feel more secure, like what we think must be good if everybody thinks that way. And then we want everybody to think and be interested in and want to do the same things that we do, without realizing that that isn't necessarily skillful if we want to benefit others. That we need to tune into where people are at and address them there, not where we want them to be. So becoming a Buddha doesn't mean that we all have the same personality. All the Buddhas have the same realizations. Nobody is lacking. None of the Buddhas are lacking in those realizations. But how they show them, how they got to those realizations, there are differences. Because as sentient beings, they were different. So it's important to have a big mind that accepts all sorts of things that are different from us. Because our job on the spiritual path is not to make everybody what we want them to be, but to actualize our own deepest aspirations. And by doing our homework, transforming our own mind with a good intention to benefit others, then we wind up being able to benefit them. On the other hand, accepting others doesn't mean that everything they do is virtuous, that we never need to say something when things get out of hand. But rather, when something necessitates our intervention, our mind is calm and we employ wisdom. And we know that what we do may or may not bring the change that we seek, may or may not benefit others the way we would like to benefit them. But in all of that, what holds the path together is the bodhicitta intention. That wish based on genuine love and compassion for all beings equally. That wish, that aspiration to become fully awakened. And so, listening to teachings, meditating today, discussing, and so on, are all part of following that path. So let's make our motivation stable. Okay. So one more thing about the Mandala Offering is as we learn the Dharma and examine it using reasoning and try it out ourselves to see if it works, as all of that is going on, our conviction in the truth of the teachings and the ability of when we practice them to actually affect some changes in ourselves, that really increases, and we come to really value the teachings and value the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, because they are the ones who have done what we aspire to do. Yeah, so they're a good role model for us. And when you really think about, what samsara is in a very deep way, and a strong feeling of wanting to be free from it arises in the mind, then we really cherish the guidance of the three jewels, and our interests shift. And so we are no longer so attached to things of this life, because that's not what our interest is in. Our conviction has changed. We're interested in something else now. And so when we're interested in something, when we're dedicated to something, we don't mind giving up other things in order to pursue it. So in the Mandala Offering, what we're doing is we're voluntarily making offerings of everything in our whole life to the three jewels, and requesting teachings, requesting guidance. Yeah. And so when it says without any sense of loss in the second verse, the inner mandala practice, then it's not like, well, they told me I have to offer everything, even mentally, so okay, but I really don't want to. It's not that. It's help, what we want to do is cultivate in our own hearts a mind that sees so clearly the value of this path and wants, so much to be able to actualize it in our mind stream, that we voluntarily make offerings of all these things, because what's more important in our life, a new car or having teachings? Yeah, what's more important in our life, a nice house or having the ability to meet a teacher that can really guide us? Okay, so things start to shift in our mind, And how we make the Mandala Offering indicates that. And it helps us to make that shift. Okay. At the beginning of the practice, some people, maybe not some, maybe most people go through a period of, well, I don't know, I like this path, but I like all my old friends too. And what the path promises is good, but I enjoy hanging out with my old friends and going to movies and going to parties and da-da-da-da-da. So, and I want to have a career and I need to feel successful and I have these worldly talents and I want to use them. But on the other hand, the Dharma feels good. So I don't know really what I want. Have people gone through that? Yeah. So, that's just part of the path. That's what you go through. Because our whole way of seeing things, our whole priorities in life is getting questioned. Yeah. It's like, well, you've lived your life like this for so long. What has it brought you? We've had different aspirations. We've actualized many of our aspirations. Are we, completely happy having done that? No. I mean, haven't you? You've had aspirations when you were a teenager, when you were your early 20s, different periods throughout our life. We have things what we want to do, things we want to learn, things, talents of ours we want to use. And then we go out and we do it. It may not turn out exactly the way we want, but we do something. But even if it turns out pretty much the way we want, then afterwards we're kind of back there at the beginning with, okay, well, I did that, and that was nice, but, something is still missing in my life. Okay. And so it's time to go deeper and really look more. And so it's really a process of shifting priorities, making new aspirations, sometimes shifting our values. Okay, and it's a necessary process. Because we can't just say, okay, now I'm done with samsara, totally 100% devoted to the Dharma. And, you meet people and they just do that for a certain number of years. And then, there's one person that I knew who did a 3-year retreat. She was at the Abbey for a while, and then she went to some other teachers, and she did a 3-year retreat. And at the end of her 3-year retreat, she decided to go back to college. And she called me. She wanted to return her intoxicant precept. And I thought, this is a result of doing a 3-year retreat? That you want to go and take intoxicants again? I thought, okay, but what was happening during the retreat? There was a lot of maybe excitement, but the change wasn't stable. The change wasn't supported by wisdom. It was more supported by excitement. Yeah. So, and some people make changes quickly. Some people make changes slowly. We're all really different in that way. Yeah. But what we want to go towards is some mental stability in what we believe and how we want to transform our mind. Okay, not just emotion, not just, I want to have some like wowie, kazowie spiritual experiences, and maybe bend some spoons in the process of it. Yeah. But I think, some people seek those experiences. I figure they'll come when they really will affect some benefit in my mind. Right now, I need to learn how to be a good human being. And if I can't be a good human being, doesn't matter, how many Buddhas appear to me and how long I can sit in samadhi. If I come out of it and just am irascible and difficult to be with, then what? Okay, but that's my take on it. My teachers often told stories like that, like the person who spent years and years and years in retreat, and when he came down to the village to get more supplies, somebody insulted him, and he got angry. And what's the what do you say, moral of that story? Yeah, what is it? The proof is in the pudding, and you see how much you've changed when difficulties come. Yeah, so difficulties can really spur our growth, and they can also, be something that helps us see how much we have changed and rejoice in that, and see what we still need to work on. Yeah. So in Buddhism, we really shouldn't regard things as failures. Yeah, people are so hung up about failing. But I think if if our whole purpose is going towards something that is really beneficial for the world, then everything that we experience becomes something that we can learn from. And in that way, even though we may make mistakes or we may fail in a worldly way, we can still come out of the situation having made a lot more spiritual progress than we would have made otherwise. Okay? And so it's for that reason that we can often talk about the kindness of the enemy. Because, and here what I mean by enemy is, somebody who we don't like, who we feel threatened by, who harms us, yeah? And that person can challenge us in ways that we never would have been challenged before. And it makes us look inside and develop our own mental internal resources to deal with the situation. And those resources, those qualities would never have been developed if we hadn't encountered that difficulty. Okay? And so my teachers that fled in 1959 after the communist Chinese takeover of Lhasa in central Tibet, they all, Lama Yeshe was just amazing this way, because he said Lama was maybe about 24, 25 when all of this turmoil happened. And he said that had it not happened and things had remained the same, he probably would have gone back to his home village, the monastery there, been, the abbot or whatever, after he finished his studies in Sarijay. And he said he probably would have just collected a lot of offerings and gotten a good reputation and had a comfortable life and not really known the meaning of the Dharma. And then he said, but Mao Zedong taught me the meaning of the Dharma. And he put his hands together and he said, I have to thank Mao Zedong for what he did. Yeah, because, when the turmoil started in Lhasa, the monks went up into the mountains thinking, they carried their wooden bowl. That's what Tibetan monks always have with them, or at least used to before they have cups now. But, they thought the turmoil would end in a few days. They would go back, finish their studies, and continue on. But then His Holiness Dalai Lama fled. He was in great danger at that time. And once they heard His Holiness had fled, many of them fled too over the Himalaya mountains in March, when there's a lot of snow and it's freezing cold. And they wound up in India, where it's hot with a lot of viruses, not knowing the language, not having any money, and getting put in displacement camps. And one of the camps they were put in, where Lama went, was Buksa, which was the British POW camp. If you saw, 7 years in Tibet, that's where Heinrich Herr was imprisoned before he escaped. So that's where they put the monks, okay? But Lama said, having to go through all of that and become a refugee really taught him the meaning of the Buddha's teachings, really taught him the meaning of the Dharma. And he said, in a way that I never would have actually felt and experienced them before. Okay? So if we see everything in our life as something that we can learn from, that helps us on the path, then, if we suffer, we can go through it. The suffering won't destroy us. Yeah? If we encounter difficulties, they won't destroy us. They will make us stronger in our practice. And then also there's no such thing as failure the way we look at failure now. You might say, well, in a worldly way, I failed. But in a Dharma way, that worldly failure was what really got me going in the right direction. And this is what many of the inmates that I work with say. There's one guy that I've been writing to for many years in North Carolina. He's in for life for killing his mother and his stepfather. And he is an excellent practitioner, really good practitioner. And he knows that he never would have met the Dharma and never would have been able to change himself so much had he not gone to prison. But he's, creating a good life for himself in prison. And the staff like him. And the other inmates like him. Because he's a nice person and he cares about others. Okay. So quite different than the young man on drugs who had gazillions of grudges and so on. Okay. So, would you say his life was a failure? I don't, I look at his life, he's creating a lot more virtue than people in society who, have a lot of fame and so on. Yeah. Because when you die, fame doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you can't cheat karma. You can't cheat cause and effect. Yeah. What is it they say? You can pull the wool over some of the people some of the time, but pull the wool over the eyes of some of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. Yeah. So this pertains to not just people, some people you can really pull the wool over for a really long time. But the law of karma, we can never pull the wool over that. Okay. It functions regardless of whether we like it or don't. You can't bribe the law of karma. You can't deceive it. It's like gravity, Gravity functions, and you can pray all you want to that things fall up, but that's not going to make them. So, with that kind of attitude, then, we can really make our life meaningful. And then when it comes to die, we feel good about ourselves. Whereas if our life is just focused on fame and money and pleasure, as you grow old, you have a nice, what do they call the things with the pictures on them that, you put your family pictures and things in, and then it keeps changing every few seconds. The digital photo album. Okay. So what you wind up when you're old with is several different digital photo albums, all about my life. And what do? You sit there and watch the pictures of what no longer exists. Yeah. And that's sad. To me, anyway. That's sad. If we can look back on our life and feel good about things we've done, feeling that our life has had meaning and purpose, then when death approaches, we can be quite peaceful. But if we don't live our lives well and don't clean up the messes that we make, then as we approach death, we feel bitter and remorseful and so on. Okay? So it's kind of up to us. Okay, so I was trying to talk about the Mandala Offering, and that's what came out. So, yeah. Okay, so after the Mandala Offering, well, how that whole discussion goes to the Mandala Offering is the more you gain confidence in the teachings, the more you are willing to relinquish your trips. Okay? The more we become willing to acknowledge our faults and acknowledge our mistakes and clean things up and apologize and change, And that frees up so much energy, because getting defensive and, going through our whole ritual where we become the judge, the jury, and the prosecutor, and there's absolutely no defense attorney, and we try other people in the court of our own mind and convict them and send them to jail forever. Yeah. Then, we can do that. And, we spend a lot of time and energy about how I'm right and other people are wrong. Yeah. When it's sometimes so much easier just to say, I'm wrong. Yeah. I'm sorry. I need to, I admit it. When we admit things, then we don't have to be defensive about them anymore. We just admit them, and then it's over. Yeah. One time my mom was really mad at me about something, some petty, stupid thing. I can't even remember what it was. Some tiny thing I didn't do that she wanted me to do. And she's on and on. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to agree with her. And I said, well, Mom, I'm sorry. You just have a dimwit for a daughter. And the discussion ended there. There was nothing, the whole thing stopped. It's like, yeah, I didn't really completely understand what she was so upset about, but I thought, okay, I'll just admit it, to whatever it was I did, to calm the situation, and it really worked. Yeah. So when they say in the thought training teachings, to accept defeat and give the victory to others, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. But you don't get proud of, well, I capitulated because I'm such a good practitioner that I gave the victory to others even though they didn't deserve it. Okay. If you think that way afterwards, you've missed the point. Okay. But it really helps to give up all the defensiveness, doesn't it? Yeah. Being defensive, going on about how we're right, they're wrong, and other people don't appreciate me, and on and on and on and on. It consumes all of our time and energy, and it doesn't get us anywhere. Because it's not like the world stops and says, you're right. The whole world has never appreciated you and has, been mean to you. Yeah? That's not what's going to happen. And if we're waiting for somebody else to apologize before we let go of our anger, then we're going to hold that grudge for a long time and be very miserable. Because we've given our power away. We're saying, I cannot liberate myself from anger until somebody else apologizes. So that means I have no power. Yeah. Whereas if we decide, this is really not something so important to be angry about, and I really don't need to be defensive, and we put it down, then the mind is peaceful. Yeah. And so this is one of the qualities that I really see in His Holiness Dalai Lama. Yeah. And, you think you get insulted? Yeah, we all look at the Dalai Lama and we think, oh, he's the Dalai Lama. Everybody loves him. Everybody respects him. Everybody listens to him. Everybody's nice to him. Okay. The Beijing government is calling him the splitter of the motherland. Lots of people in the Beijing government can't stand him. Yeah. Even other Tibetans, when they're in front of His Holiness, they're like this, and yes, we'll, so humble, and yes, we'll do this, yes, we'll do that. And then when they leave the room, they go do what they want. Yeah. So, don't think that, fame brings kind of a comfortable life, or power brings a comfortable life, not in any sort of way. But what really happens with His Holiness is he doesn't hold any of that against people. Yeah, it's like, okay. I have a little slogan: sentient beings do what sentient beings do. And it's true. if you experience sentient beings to do what Buddhas do, you're going to be pretty miserable. But sentient beings do what sentient beings do, and sentient beings are confused, like me. So why should I hate them for that? And why should I try and prove that I'm less confused than they are? Even though secretly I know I am. Yeah, why? Because I am always right. Okay, that's the self-centered mind speaking. Yeah, self-centered mind is well and, looking forward to action. Okay, let's go on to the requests in the sadhana. Okay, so the question starts, why are we requesting the Buddha for things? Okay, why are we requesting the Buddha to inspire our minds? Or why do we request the Buddha to grant certain realizations as if the Buddha had the realizations and is going to dish them out to us? Okay, it's not like that. This is a psychological process, okay? The medicine Buddha that is in front of us is one that we have created the image, based on what we've learned of the kind of person we want to become. And we've projected that outward in the form of the medicine Buddha. When we make requests, we're kind of like requesting the Buddha that we're going to become to please inspire our mind now so we can create the causes to become that kind of Buddha. Okay. So it's like how we anthropomorphize everything. I mean, this is so often the way we think. We project things outward that are actually in our own mind, the same way that we project enemies outward, And we don't like somebody, therefore they are evil inside, inherently unforgivable. That is all our projection. So here we're projecting something beautiful that we want to become like, and we're trying to connect with it. That's one way to see the medicine Buddha. Another way is you can see the medicine Buddha as another being who has attained awakening, and that you're, creating a relationship with another being who awakened being. So there's many different ways you can see the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and you can do it differently at different times according to what you need in your practice. Okay, but you see in this whole process here of doing the sadhana, we create the medicine Buddha, then we do all these virtuous practices. We prostrate, we make offerings, we confess, we request them to give teachings and to live long, and we do, then request for inspiration and so on. And then at the end of the practice, what we've created outside dissolves back into ourselves. Okay? And we feel that feeling of unity with the medicine Buddha. So it's a whole psychological thing, how it works. Yeah? That's really quite astute. And it helps us to imagine having the realizations that we don't yet have. And the thing is that if we can't imagine something, then we can never actually be it. When we look at, people who have discovered different things or made different things, they had to have imagined the possibility of such a thing first. Yeah. And then in the case of discovery, gone looking and seeing, if there's such thing as electricity and so on. Or, you want to develop a spaceship, you have to imagine something like that and then go about creating it. So in the sadhana, what we're trying to do is imagine ourselves as an awakened being, as a being who's free from the afflictions and limitations that we now have. And this is very helpful, imagining like that, because then in our lives, when we encounter different problems, instead of thinking, I'm just little old poor quality me, who can't do anything right, who always fails, we think, okay, if the medicine Buddha were here in this situation, how would the medicine Buddha look at it? How would the medicine Buddha feel? How would the medicine Buddha act? And then that gives us a way to see difficult situations in a way that we never could have imagined otherwise. Okay? So none of us like being criticized, but we all get criticized. So you imagine being in a situation, even, something that occurred in the past where somebody was really telling you off big time, and you imagine that situation of somebody telling you off. And instead of being little old you with your needs and your likes and your dislikes and your preferences, you think, okay, if I'm the medicine Buddha, how is the medicine Buddha going to look at this situation of being told off? Yeah. Is the medicine Buddha going to go, no, I didn't do that, you started it? No, medicine Buddha's not going to do that. Is medicine Buddha going to do, oh, well, it's all my fault anyway, what you said is right, I'm really a hopeless case. No, medicine Buddha's not going to do that either. Okay, how's medicine Buddha going to look at the situation in which somebody's really mad at you and going at you? Medicine Buddha is going to look and say, that's some unhappy sentient being. That's somebody who's really miserable right now, who is venting on me. It doesn't really have much to do with me, but that person's creating a tremendous amount of negative karma through, this kind of speech and antipathy in the mind. How can I hate somebody who's so confused that that's what they're doing in an attempt to be happy? No, I'm going to have compassion for that person. I'm going to wish them to be free of suffering. And I'm going to see how I can resolve this conflict in a way that brings harmony to the situation. Okay? Because that's how the medicine Buddha would look at it. Yeah. And the medicine Buddha would also look at the situation and say, this is impermanent. It's not lasting forever. In fact, it's changing in every nanosecond. The medicine Buddha is also going to analyze just what is the criticism. Yeah. What is the criticism? Is it the thought in somebody's mind? Is it the sound of their voice? Is it the sound waves? Is it the sound hitting my ear? Is it chemicals in the brain? just what is the criticism? Yeah. And it's incredible when you do an analysis of, what is, and you try and find exactly what the criticism is. Yeah. And you can't find anything. Yeah, think about it. Somebody says, "Oh, you're a horrible, rotten person. I never should have, been involved with you to start with." Okay, where's the criticism in that? Is the criticism in the word "your"? Is it in, you are a? Is it in very? Disgusting person? Which word is the criticism? Okay. Is the criticism the sound of the word? Is it the meaning in that person's mind? Is the criticism something that comes with the sound waves, that when it hits your ear, you catch it like a virus and you say, "I've been criticized"? And then immediately anger, push button. Are you like a soda machine? Yeah. Criticism, push button, anger. Oh. And who in the world is it that this person is criticizing? Is it my body? Is it my mind? Is it something other than my body and mind? Yeah. If they're criticizing my body because I did something physically, are they criticizing my little toe, my big toe, my pancreas, that beautiful kidney? What are they criticizing? Maybe they're criticizing my mind. Which mind? The mind that sees things, the mind that sleeps, the mind that hears things, the mind that is distracted, the mind that meditates. Who really are they criticizing? And you do an analysis there. That's how the medicine Buddha would look at it. And then, in the process of doing those analyses, the whole thing evaporates. You can't find any criticism. You can't find a person who's being criticized. Yeah. And then your mind relaxes. So that's how you use the sadhana, this whole psychological process of the sadhana, how you bring it into your life to start making changes. Okay. We're getting there. We're coming back to the requests again. Okay, so I request you, Bhagawan Medicine Buddha, whose sky-colored holy body of lapis lazuli signifies omniscient wisdom and compassion as vast as limitless space. Please inspire my mind. Okay, so you're visualizing, sitting in the presence of an enlightened being, Bhagawan Medicine Buddha, with this beautiful lapis lazuli body that's radiating light going out to all the sentient beings everywhere. Yeah. So you're not visualizing Donald Trump at a rally. Yeah. If you visualize Donald Trump at a rally, how does that affect your mind? Yeah. If you visualize Medicine Buddha and you think you're in his presence, how does that affect your mind? Okay, so we can see here, what we pay attention to will affect us. Mm-hmm. If you're a really good practitioner, you transform Donnie into the Medicine Buddha. Yeah. And then you take what he's saying as a teaching. What's the teaching? Tell the truth. Okay. I request you, compassionate medicine Buddha, who holds in your right hand the king of medicines, symbolizing your vow to help the pitiful sentient beings plagued by the 404 diseases. Please inspire my mind. Okay, so he's holding in his right hand the stem of the aurora plant, which is called the king of, kind of, it's the basis for all the Tibetan medicine and ancient Indian medicine as well. And that symbolizes, because it's, the what you put all the other healing ingredients in, and it itself is a medicine. It's symbolizing your commitment to compassion, to altruism, to helping sentient beings heal from whatever they are suffering from. Here it says pitiful sentient beings. I don't like the word pitiful. To me, pity implies a difference in power and status. Pity implies, I'm up here, I'm okay, you're a catastrophe down here, so I feel sorry for you and I pity you. Okay, this is not compassion. Pity is not compassion. Pity smacks of condescension and contempt. Okay, at least what the word pity means to me. It may mean something to you that's different because of how you encountered it, in previous times. But to me, the word pity is just, I don't like it. I don't want to pity anyone, and I don't want to be pitied. Okay. I think the word pity reminds me of that time in my life when I read Ayn Rand. I don't want to go back to thinking like that. Okay. That is not the kind of person I want to be. But for a time in my life, I thought that was really good. Okay, so instead of pitiful sentient beings, for me, plagued by the 404 diseases, yes, because we all have bodies and we all get sick. Yeah. So, I would change the word pitiful to something else. I'm not quite, maybe suffering sentient beings, something like that. Okay. So we're asking Medicine Buddha to inspire our mind. What does inspire our mind mean? It means to help transform our mind so we are more receptive to the teachings, so that when we hear them, contemplate them, meditate on them, our mind is affected very deeply, and is transformed. That's what, asking for inspiration means. Yeah. So we can see we're asking for inspiration from somebody who's already a Buddha, who's done what we want to do, or we're asking inspiration from the Buddha that we're going to become sometime. Okay. I request you, compassionate medicine guru, who holds in your left hand a bowl of nectar symbolizing your vow to give the glorious undying nectar of the Dharma, which eliminates the degenerations of sickness, aging, and death. Please inspire my mind. Okay, so, in his alms bowl, again, holding medicinal herbs, symbolizing that vow to give the nectar of the Dharma. Yeah. Now, how does the nectar of the Dharma eliminate degenerations of sickness, aging, and death? Okay. What this means is when we remember the real Dharma is the true paths and the true cessations, the last two of the four truths. When we actualize the true paths, when we realize the true paths in our mind, and then they bring about the true cessations, then we become free of this compulsive rebirth and cyclic existence. And that is how death is eliminated. Okay, that's how birth in samsara is eliminated. And so sickness and aging are also gone. Okay, because once we take a body under the control of afflictions and karma, aging, sickness, and death follow. Yeah, no way around that. But once we can stop that kind of rebirth, then there's no aging, sickness, and death. So another term for nirvana is often the deathless. Yeah. So the deathless doesn't mean that you live forever in a body that gets older and older and older and sicker and sicker and sicker. It means that you are free from this whole process of samsara altogether. Okay. Now, if you're a bodhisattva who has, generated bodhicitta, when you attain that state of freedom, you don't just stay in your own peaceful nirvana. You create many manifestations and you appear in the world in order to benefit other living beings. Okay, so His Holiness jokes, oh yeah, when I attain nirvana, then I can have a good rest. But no, that's not actually what happens. Yeah, when you attain nirvana, you don't need a rest. When you attain Buddhahood, you don't need a rest because you've gone beyond that kind of thing. Okay, so we make those requests to the Medicine Buddha, and as we do, we imagine blue, purifying light that comes from the Medicine Buddha into us, that comes to the head, top of our crown and fills our whole body. Or we can imagine the light coming in through all the pores of our body. Yeah. But what's happening is we're really making a connection with the Medicine Buddha. We're making these requests, and the Medicine Buddha is responding by sending purifying light. Okay. So the light purifies negativities that obscure our mind. And we think that the light also brings the realizations of the path. So it performs two functions, both purifying and bringing realizations. And then we go through the visualization. Okay, so on the crown of your head is Guru Medicine Buddha. Yeah, and on the crown of Guru Medicine Buddha's head is a jewel, which in essence is your spiritual mentor, okay? Then above that, you have a lotus and moon disk, and you have the Buddha, King of Clear Knowing, who's red. So there's 7 Medicine Buddhas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you see a Medicine Buddha mandala, there's one in the hallway here when you walk down. There's 8 Buddhas. The 8th Buddha is Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay. In the meditation hall, we have a tanka of the 35 Buddhas. At the bottom is a row of the 7 Medicine Buddhas. You can look at them there. Okay, so what you have now is you're acknowledging that there's a whole series of Buddhas. Yeah, above your head. And, each one has a name which has meaning and a color and a specific mudra. And so you're visualizing all of them. And then in the next section, requesting the Medicine Buddhas. Then you start at the top and you make a request to that Buddha, okay, and then that Buddha absorbs into the medicine Buddha below him, and you request that Buddha, and then that medicine Buddha dissolves into the one below him, you request that one, and then so on back to the medicine Buddha who's on your crown. Okay? When you're doing this, don't roll your eyeballs up trying to see those medicine Buddhas on top of your head. It'll just give you a headache. Okay? And don't put too much concentration here. Just feel that these holy beings are on top. And make sure that their bodies are made of light. If you imagine statues, you'll also get a headache. Okay? So you don't have brass, immobile statues. You have, living beings made with bodies made of light that you're requesting. Okay, so let's leave some time for questions if you have any now.
I'm curious with the visualization, since Medicine Buddha is on the crown of my head and not in front of me, when I'm doing things like imagining prostrating and making offerings, just how that works, because it's different, or at least it feels like it might be different.
No, you're not prostrating to the Buddha up here. Buddhas can move. Yeah, so he can go from here to the space in front. And you can also have more than one medicine Buddha. So you can imagine a medicine Buddha in front, and when you prostrate, the one on your head doesn't fall off. Okay? Yeah. So there's flexibility in your visualization. Yeah? Yeah.
I have a question about why we absorb the medicine Buddha through our eyebrows and not through the crown of our head, since he's already there.
Yeah.
That comes a little.
There's different ways to do it. Yeah, there's different ways to do it. Sometimes it's through the crown of your head. Sometimes it's through like the third eye place. I don't really know what the difference is.
There's 2 questions online.
Sure.
How does a householder like Marpa teach Milarepa?
What?
How does a householder like Marpa teach Milarepa? Marpa?
Householder.
Like Marpa. Teach Milarepa.
Marpa practiced well. He had realizations. So he had disciples who wanted to study with him, and he taught what he knew to people like Milarepa. Yeah.
Okay. Is there historical context for the sentient beings who became the medicine Buddhas? How did they come to be this particular group of Buddhas?
Oh, there might be in some sutra or another, some story about different beings and how they became all these different medicine Buddhas. I don't know the stories, but if you can find one of the sutras that talk about the medicine Buddha, you may find those stories in it.
How can you help loved ones heal with the medicine Buddha visualizations?
You can put the medicine Buddha, when you're doing the practice, you can put a medicine Buddha on top of their head and imagine, the medicine Buddha, when we're coming to the next section here, of light flowing down and purifying and bringing realizations, then you imagine the medicine Buddha, purifying and bringing realizations to that person and healing that person from whatever physical or mental disease that they have or discomfort, pain that they have. Yeah. It's quite effective, actually, to do that. And this is really good, when you're in the hospital with somebody, or when you're, you don't really know how to help somebody in a practical way. You don't have the ability, but you want to help. You have a compassionate intention. Then doing this kind of meditation can be very good. Was that it? Yeah.
When we offer the mandala, is it okay as well to offer like qualities? Like I sometimes imagine the 4 continents being the 4 measurables, like offering that as if that's how I want to engage with the world, not just my things that I own.
Yeah, I would think so, that you could do that.
Regarding the mudras, what's the difference between giving a mudra of sublime realization versus the mudra of expounding the Dharma?
You mean what's the difference in how you hold your hands?
That too, and then, yeah.
Or just the difference in the...
I guess the difference in how you hold your hands.
Okay. The teaching mudra is like this, usually with the right hand.
Okay.
Okay. And so it's indicating, sharing the teachings with others, spreading the Dharma to benefit other beings. And then the other one was the mudra of granting realizations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Tara's, with the hand on the knee, the palm out and open. And it's like, if you could, you pour the realization into them. Yeah. It's like you're giving them the energy or whatever it is. It's like, when I watch His Holiness teach the Tibetan children, the teenagers, the way he looks at them and teaches them, it's like he wants to pour his heart into them so that they really understand the beauty of the teachings. Yeah. So it's kind of like that. Yeah. Okay, then let's dedicate.